You know, there's nothing like cracking that cellophane and pulling that record out. It just smells great.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Non-stop hardcore energy.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Unlike any other.
With your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bod Father.
Man, this stuff rocks.
Hey, this is Sam Spade from the Midnight Devils. You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour with the Bod Father himself. It's time to get weird, baby. And remember, never beg for it.
The views and opinions of the guests do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Hour, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I am your host, John the Bod, aka the Bod Father, and as always, I'm bringing you guys and gals awesome interviews. But today, before I introduce our awesome guest for the podcast, I just want you guys and gals to do me a favor. Please go out and subscribe to BODS Mayhem Hour on YouTube. It just takes 2 seconds to click like, subscribe, and click the notification bell. That's it. That's all I'm asking. You know, just subscribe to me. Help me out. I told you the 1,000th subscriber that comes on here, we'll go live and we'll eat a bologna sandwich and we'll talk music. That's what we will do. And we may even share a Coke or a Pepsi Zero here, That's what I can drink. But anyway, I want to introduce our awesome guest today. He's the bassist and vocalist, Sam Spade of the Midnight Devils. The Midnight Devils have released their sophomore album, Never Beg For It, via Pavement Entertainment. Never Beg For It is the follow-up to the band's 2018 debut album, Something Bigger. Also check out singles Highway 69 and a cover of Loverboys. Everybody is working for the weekend with the Pink Bastard. I'm just going to say this right now, man. My favorite tracks off this album I got to listen to is Highway 69, Squeeze Me Dry, and Crank Down. So I'm not going to say, give everything away on this album because I want people to go buy this album, But those are my 3 favorites, man. So welcome to the podcast, Sam. And how you doing, dude?
Hey, John, I'm doing great. First of all, what an incredible name, I have to tell you. If you wouldn't mind, I'd like to give you an introduction.
Go right ahead.
Nobody's probably ever done this, but I love this, and this is what I do. Ladies and gentlemen, hailing from your worst nightmare, the dream come true, the Bod Father,
I like
John
it.
Marshall. It's good. It rolls right off the tongue.
I like it. That might be my new intro. I'm every girl's dream. Wow, that's it. No, I'm not every girl's dream.
Hey, thank you, though. It's a pleasure to be here and talking to you,
yeah,
especially
man.
about this new record.
This is a good album from you guys. And I'm not saying that lightheartedly. I'm not saying it because you're on the podcast. I'm just saying for real, it is a good throwback to the 80s sleazy stuff that I like, but it has that modern day rock feel to it. That's what I like about it. You up the game on it a little bit, man.
Absolutely, we did. On this record, we enlisted star producer, frontman, the mayor of Glamtown, the coolest dude I know. Chip produced it. We did it in Blue Island, Illinois, at his house. And once we got all the tracks done, we took it to Chris Steinmetz in Chicago, Stonecutter Records, Stonecutter Studios, who did the Kiss Revenge album. So it's like we really we wanted to bring it this time around to what you said, step up the game. And really make this our first album on a record label, the first album to come out that we can show to the world that we're very, very proud of.
Now, we're going to get into this a little bit deeper, but I just want to talk about this first because I know if I don't, I will forget about this. You are a Kiss fanatic, and so am I. How cool was it to have a Kiss producer do this album, mix, master, everything for you guys on this, man?
It was the dream come true. Absolutely. Like, I'm talking to this guy thinking 30 years ago, he was in the studio. Gene and Paul were in the studio doing Revenge, which was such an incredible album. And such a, we would go back and listen to Revenge and be like, this is what our songs are going to sound like. This is what our albums are going to sound like. If it sounds anything half as close to as good as Revenge sounds, we're in business, And then we went into the studio talking to him and he goes, yeah, check out this Marshall stack I have sitting right here. Gene and Paul gave me this Marshall stack for doing Revenge. And we were just like, whoa, goosebumps. Just that disconnection.
In reality, though, did you think you had a shot of having this guy to work with you guys? What was your anticipation coming in? It's like, man, let's go for it anyway. Let's go balls to the wall. Let's see. All I can do is say no.
That's exactly what it was. He was hooked up with Chip. So Chip gave us the green light with Chris. And we went in and talked to him. And the first time I was in there, I was nervous. You know, we're in the big studio in the big city with the big producer. I was nervous as hell, and I didn't say much. And then we started talking and talking about rock and roll and bands that we liked, and we kind of met on this common ground. You know, we're just into all these same bands from that kind of Chicago area, that classic rock sound, and we hit it off great. And so we sat in the studio, and he got us in there, and we were all hanging out right when that Beatles Let It Be, when the documentary came out.
Oh yeah.
And we all sat in the big studio and watched this documentary together, and I was like, pinch me. Dreams are coming true. I got goosebumps right now. We're with Chris. We're with Chip. This is just an incredible feeling to have it all come together the way it did. I'm just still kind of blown away and in shock by it.
Man, I used to be the same way, and I still am nervous today. I still get nervous, like interviewing you guys and national bands and all these bands. I still get nervous, but
sure,
I finally figured out, like, hey, you know, you get these interviews and you find out they're just like regular people, and then you get that calm, but still that awe factor.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I get to interview some of my heroes when I was a kid.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's one of those things. It's like, okay, don't freak out, just calm down. And I don't want to have that Chris Farley moment like he did with crap.
Paul McCartney. Yeah.
I don't want to have that moment, and I'm sure you was thinking the same way. Don't freak out. Don't be like Chris Farley. Hey, do you remember when you produced that Kiss album? You know, it's like, no.
So, like, can you sign this? I got one at my house with their name on it. We just signed it. But it's a cool feeling to think that on Revenge, if you flip it over, you see Chris Steinmetz. Same thing on the Midnight Devils record, mastered by Chris Steinmetz. Such a cool, nerdy Kiss thing. But as a Kiss fan, you know those things completely count, and they count big time.
So I got to know this, man. Yourself and Sniper played in a hair metal band. You and Sniper left that band, and this is how the Midnight Devils started out as an acoustic duo. Has the Midnight Devils been a breath of fresh air for the both of you as far as creating music you want to, and now traveling? And has it met those expectations so far?
Absolutely, yes. So as you know, I don't know if you've talked to many guys that do cover bands. I mean, there's no disrespect to cover band guys. Like, we're still all musicians, we're still all entertainers. But we had that itch, that creative itch, and we had that we wanted to go travel. We wanted to travel around the world, around the country. We wanted to go to LA. We wanted to go to New York, and we couldn't really do it with that band. It was kind of stuck. It plateaued out. And we were like, if we take the reins by ourselves, who knows how far we can get this? And meeting Jimmy Messi, really, he had this idea. He's like, you know, we can do these terrible punk rock headlining tours and make it all the way out to LA and play the places that we want to play. We're going to lose money. It's going to suck. It's going to be really difficult, but we should go for it. What do we got to lose? And we were apprehensive at first. Sniper and I, you know, we just come out of a well-paying gig. We'd get paid every night we played. Going into a tours or a band that wasn't going to get paid, that had no guarantee of success, we were really staring out into the abyss, going, well, if we're going to make it, we're going to make it on our own, on our own songs, on our own shows, our own performance. And that's really when the creativity, it's like the light bulb hit. We're like, we can do whatever we want with this band. And I can see it still through the images and with the cartoon devils and everything. Like, our creativity is off the charts. We can just really get away with almost anything that we want to get away with.
And how nervous were you guys to break away from that and create your own music and be free? Because it had to be a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it was definitely like leaving the nest.
Yeah.
We had everything. We had managers and stuff that did everything for us, so we didn't have to worry. We're going into the Midnight Devils. I didn't know how to make a record. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know how to even produce like CDs. Who do I got to talk to that makes CDs? And that first record was really our trial by fire, how we learned what to do, what not to do. But it was a beautiful thing. The nerves were off the charts. I was freaking out, going, the world's watching. When really, everybody wants you to do good, but the world's watching. The breakout of the Midnight Devils. Let's see what they do. And I thought we came out swinging pretty good on the first record, but it wasn't up to this caliber. So we really, like we said in the beginning, had to step it up and kick things into gear for this record, especially being on Pavement Entertainment. You don't want to deliver anything less than your best.
Sure. Oh yeah, exactly. How crucial was Sniper to this band after you guys broke away? How crucial was he to this band and still today?
Still today, I tell him this, he's the leader, the musical director of this band, the guy that really, like, I'll have songs, I'll have ideas of songs, I'll have chord structures of songs, and I'll bring them to him, and he turns them into these incredible guitar-driven, riff-oriented, huge chorus rock and roll songs. So we work so well together, where I can be the front man and I can be the guy that's out in the audience just going crazy, and he's holding it down musically on stage. Same within the studio. He's the one take wonder is what they call him, So he'll come in and be like, I have the song. All right, cool. We got a solo. Even watching him work with Chip, I was just like, man, he's an animal. But he's one of those guys that loves playing guitar 24/7. If he could have a guitar in his hand 24/7, that's him. It makes him the most happy of anything else in the entire world. So he's the driving factor on us rehearsing. We don't even rehearse. It's the fact that you need to have your stuff together when we get up on stage, because if you don't, you're going to have the wrath of Sniper come down on you. But nobody wants that.
Man, I got to ask the $1 million question I know you love playing bass. I know that's your baby, but are you eventually going to walk away and be just a front man? Or have you thought about that? What have you guys discussed maybe?
It is the $1 million question, and everybody's been asking it. And we had Chris Six from Pretty Boy Floyd stepped up and played bass with us on the last tour. Couple nights. He would just be guest filling bass on Highway 69. And it was liberating to not have a bass in my hands. Also kind of terrifying at the same time. Like, what do I do? How do I act? Because I've played bass for so long and sang that it was quite a different thing. I loved it. I love the freedom, and I love it's almost another side of the artistic spectrum that you get to not have to worry about playing the guitar. I'm always up for it, but I also love playing bass. And to me, in my mind, bass makes sense. And it's a perfect fit of what Jimmy's doing and what Sniper's doing. I can kind of just slide in the middle with my bass playing and be really active as a singer. My bass playing is very, I wouldn't say complicated, but it holds it down. I'm right in the pocket. I can do what they need me to do while still being the front man of the band.
What was your thoughts on Pavement Entertainment wanting to sign the band, and how's it been working with them so far?
It has been incredible, a breath of fresh air. Our first label that we've ever been on. So that in itself is a huge thing. And as a kid, starting out, a 16-year-old kid, you're always like, we need to get signed. We need to get out there and get to the world. When we started doing this next record, we had been involved. Chip was involved already, and he got us involved, or he got us hooked up with Chuck at Artists Worldwide, who is now our booking manager, our booking agent. And Chuck was really the one that was instrumental in pushing us to Pavement. When I had reached out to, like, say, Frontiers Records and Golden Robot and these bigger labels that were signing glam bands, and they said, oh, you guys are too wild, you're too glam, it's too over the top. Like, they turned us down for being too glam.
Wow.
Too crazy. And I never heard of a record label going, you guys are too crazy. These labels, they turned on us, and Pavement was the only one that comes in and they go, we get it. It's punk, it's street, it's glitter, it's glam, it's heavy metal, it's rock and roll. We love it. Let's go. Let's do an album together.
But when you think of glam rock and you think of the old 80s stuff, you guys are a prime example of it. I mean,
it blew my mind too. It blew my mind.
I mean, you got the hair, you got the look. I mean, and I love those guitar chops, man. I love everything about it. I'm still a huge Guns N' Roses and Poison fan, which Poison's kicking ass on that stadium tour right now.
That's what I heard. They're destroying the place.
Yeah, they are absolutely blowing it up, Sam. Seriously.
You knew they were going to, though. You knew they were going to take center stage. I already saw it coming down.
I'm so tickled for CC to have a resurgence. I'm glad that I hope that he stays on that straight path and he's clean now and good. And his guitar playing is fucking phenomenal.
You knew that. Like the first night out, I go, man, Bret Michaels, just a phenomenal frontman, a phenomenal leader of that band. And we saw him at Rocklahoma. Okay, so we saw him, 50,000 people, huge crowd. Like all these huge bands are playing Korn, Disturbed, blah, blah, blah. People are going crazy. Poison comes out, 50,000 people, 50,000 chicks screaming their head off.
Yep.
And I'm like, Poison still got it. Look at this. This is incredible. The whole place went bananas as soon as Poison walked on the stage. And I go, it's a testament to how to be a great rock and roll band. And they got it going on. All it is smiles,
Dude, I'm sitting here right now with chill bumps on me. I love the music and stuff. It hits my heart, man. It hits my soul. This is my drug.
Me too, man. I'm sitting here we leave in a day for Rockfest in Wisconsin. I'm sitting here labeling CDs and putting them up for sending out to the mail. Like, it never ends, but I don't want it to end. I love it. I love every minute of it.
That's exactly right. So how excited are you guys to have this second album, Never Beg For It, out right now? How excited are you guys to actually have this second album under your belt?
2 years in the making. We started doing this right when the coronavirus hit. We thought, oh, this is perfect. It's like a sign. We got to start doing this record. 2 years later, we finally finished it. We had a bunch of really cool tours that happened already this year. We've done some amazing shows, East Coast, West Coast. We've done it. But to have this album out finally is just such a defining moment, I think, in our career, and one of those that we can only build off of. And that's what we wanted. We wanted a spot where almost an anchor point where you can start building for the next album, for the next tour, for the next year. So it feels so good to have it out. And the reception on Highway 69, the single, Working for the Weekend, has just been overwhelming. And I've never had that before.
So is it safe to say that this is the album that the Midnight Devils were expected to make?
Absolutely. I think it pushed past the point of what people expected. And we're into the point where now people are like, they're starting to take notice, and they go, okay, it's more than just glitter and lipstick and makeup. It's actually songs and party songs. And it's almost a turning of the tide where I think you're going to see a lot more bands starting to take this route of, hey, let's not take it as serious as we need to. Like, rock and roll is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be about the party. It's supposed to be about the freedom and creativity.
That is it. And it's so crazy. And I've said this a million times, and people look at me like I'm crazy. I'm just like, look, just listen to me and watch and see. Every so often, man, that door revolves around. It comes right back to metal, came back to heavy metal, came back to, punk again. And now it's coming back, I think, to the 80s stuff again. So that door never stops revolving.
I think it's coming back to that style. If not that style, that mentality of there's so much bad stuff going on in the world. Let's go party. Let's go have some fun. No matter what, color your skin is, no matter what sexuality you are, at the Midnight Devils show, at these parties, we're all the same. We're all the same, and we all came for the same thing. And it's to have a good time and to just laugh our asses off and just forget about everything for a little while. Come in, have a good time. We'll catch up on the next one.
Yeah, get away for a while. Let music escape you. And
absolutely. That's what it's about.
Let the band speak for you. Feel that groove and just go away. That's it. That's all it is. What led the track Highway 69 to be the first track released? And also, what led the cover Loverboy, Everybody's Working for the Weekend, to happen? Let's talk about all this, man.
Sure. Yeah, I got good stories on all of them. First of all, Highway 69 was maybe one of the first tracks that Sniper and I had written for this album. I never in a million years thought it would have been the single. Like, to me, I go, yeah, it's a good song. I think when it's your own song, you don't really see. Like, you're in the woods and you don't really see. But I brought it in. I was working at a record shop, and I brought it in the demos to my boss, and he goes, that's the single right there. And I was like, really? That's the one? Then everybody else said the same thing. I was like, okay, I guess this is maybe the one. Like, everybody seems to really latch onto this song, and I think it's really cool. And I've never kind of had a single or anything kind of touch somebody so deeply. So like Highway 69 has been this labor, not a labor. It's like our calling card now. And so everything has 69 on it. And the song came from a night we were driving from Corpus Christi, Texas to Oklahoma City on Highway 69. And the legend is that we got pulled over. We were driving a big bus. We were covered in makeup, leaving a gig, going to another one. We got pulled over by the Texas State Trooper. And he opens up where we open up the bus doors. He's like, you boys, you're swerving out there. And I'm like, fuck, we're going down. We're going to jail. This is it. And I go, well, it's real windy out, and I'm having trouble keeping this bus on the road. We're all sober. So it was nothing, like, he couldn't have got us for anything, but still, I just knew in Texas, man, I'm like, man, we're in trouble. And he ended up letting us go. Nothing happened. But Highway 69, I'll never forget it.
Oh, wow.
So, and then Working for the Weekend, it was all a Chip ZNuff thing. Working for the Weekend was, we brought in all the tracks to Blue Island, Illinois. We're sitting at Chip's house. He's smoking this joint that's this long. He goes, bro, the record label needs a cover single. It's going to be the first song out, the first one you're going to do a video. So come back tomorrow and have a cover ready to go. And we're like, what are we going to do? Like, you need a cover by tomorrow that we're going to put on the record that's going to last forever. And so we're driving around and we're kind of like, man, what are we going to do? We had a couple songs in mind. We stopped to get some hot dogs in Chicago, and Working for the Weekend comes on. And it was one of those moments we're sitting in the van and it's like, we're going, that's the song. And we brought it in, and Chip loved the idea, and the rest is history.
Well, think about it, man. You had the highway experience, be getting pulled over by the state trooper. There's a thing on Highway 69, of course. And now you go to the convenience store, buy a freaking hot dog to eat. And then, there's Lover Boys, everybody's working for the weekend. I mean,
it's on. And I'm like, this is it. And we had already had that idea for the Pink Bastard. Like it started to come into fruition. And I had the t-shirts were designed and they were made, but we hadn't quite put all the pieces together. And then Working for the Weekend with the Saturday Night Live skit, I go, oh man, it all makes sense. It's so good. And then bringing him up on stage is it's just a killer. People love it. And it really brings this dimension out on stage where, these bands are coming up and they're, we're playing our song. They're playing their songs. And then the Midnight Devils come up and it's devil horns flying in the audience. There's $69 bills flying. And then this giant pink devil comes up on stage. It's like, what's next? What can these guys possibly do next?
Are these all brand new songs, or are these songs that didn't make the previous album or stuff, left in the vault? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I believe they're all new songs except for one. One we had left, Squeeze Me Dry, was one we Sniper had written from back in the 3D days. So that was kind of a leftover that we weren't real thrilled with the way that it went the first time around. So we're like, we can do better. Let's put our spin on this and really make this our song instead of a 3D song. And a Sniper had written it, so it didn't really matter. And it's getting such a great response too. Another one, I was just like, I thought there was a lot of good songs on the record, and everybody's gravitating towards Squeeze Me Dry. It's incredible.
I like that song. I told you that's one of my off of it. It's just a good track. I mean, I threw it on last night, listened to it. I threw it on the other day when I got this. I was like, hell yeah. And when you go to stop, it's like I'm going to work on this. It's like, I couldn't pull my finger to trigger to do it because I was like, no, I can't do it. No.
And the little break in the middle, with the talking part, we didn't have anything written going in. They're rolling the tape. We've done the whole track. They're rolling tape. I'm doing the lead vocals, and they're like, okay, this is the talking part. I need you to say something very David Lee Roth-esque. And the talking part was all true. It was all a true experience. I wasn't making it up. And I talked to Chip about it, and he's like, write it down. He's talking about girls, and he's like, say it exactly how it happened. It'll make for a good story.
I just hope that nobody comes at you guys and say like, oh, they're Steel Panther Part 2. And they're not, folks. They are nothing like
that. I like Steel Panther. I really do. I think they're great. I think the songs are cool. But the difference is Steel Panther will go out and say exactly what, they'll say the stuff because it's the joke. It's the punchline of the joke. Where I come from, the more AC/DC early Kiss stuff, where you have to kind of write the lyrics tongue in cheek so that it could mean so many different things. Everybody knows what it means. It's very, very, you're like, put it out there. Everybody knows it, but you're not exactly saying it.
Right. Was there a track that you guys were working on that totally ended up sounding different than it was intended to?
I think maybe the last one, Party in the Back. Party in the Back was a really good one. There's also Long Gone. That was a Sniper track that we didn't work on it a ton in rehearsals, in the writing. I knew we had a good song. And then when we put it so I work at this club, and when we put it on late at night after everybody left the club, we put it on in the PA, and I go, holy cow, that's us. Like, that doesn't even sound like us. I couldn't even believe how amazing the song came together and just painted this incredible landscape of a song. I was like, this is great. That it was Long Gone, and then Party in the Back was one that we were a little on the fence, and then it just turned itself around. And I go, this is really cool. A really dynamic with the tempo changes were up and down. I just think it's great. And then when Chip added it in vocals and really added that Chicago sound to it, I thought it turned the whole record around.
I know these are your guys' babies. I know that, but are there any tracks standing out more to you than any right now on this album, possibly?
Everybody asks. It's Glitter Connection is the track that really means the most to me. From the reason that I know the story behind the lyrics and I know what it was written about, but I think it's very accessible to anybody else that listens to it. It's really it's not that it's a dark song by any means, but it's a true story about stuff that had actually happened to us on the road, and anybody else that may or may not have fallen in love or have friends or people that have issues in their lives that they're dealing with and going through.
I know that you said this was 2 years in the making, but did the pandemic help the band take more time to be more creative on this album, you think, to hone in on everything you wanted to do?
Absolutely. The pandemic, what it did was, so we had been on tour with the Choir Boys, right when the pandemic hit. We still had 2.5 more weeks left on this tour. And then there was another tour booked, and we were going to be busy all year long. And I was like, how are we going to write a record on the road? We're going to have to do it in our hotel rooms. It's going to be so difficult because the last thing you want to do in a hotel after you played shows is write songs or rehearse or practice. You're just tired. You want to hang out. The pandemic really pushed us to be sitting at home working on these songs, or sitting at Sniper's basement collaborating on these songs. And I think we got the time that we needed to kind of flush out the bugs and trim the fat and make it the songs that we wanted to. So absolutely, like I said, it was definitely a sign that we were ready to do this record. Pandemic, it was great because we went to Chip's house, so we didn't have to go through any of the social restrictions or protocols to kind of do this record. We were on our own, and it really leveled everybody out. Nobody was doing anything at the time.
And I don't want to come off sounding like an ass, but this pandemic, and I hated that we had to go through that. But for the true musicians out there who wanted to do this was your time to say either put it in or phone it out. Whatever. Yep. Because
you're totally right.
Yeah.
Somebody told me, a manager told me, he goes, you know what, you're on at the height of the pandemic, my manager goes, you're at the same level as Kiss. Nobody's doing anything right now.
Right.
So what you have to do is capitalize on what you can capitalize on. You can't change anything that's happening in the world. So change what you can. Focus on stuff that you can change, which is social media presence, engaging your fans, letting them know that you're still out there and that you still care. And that was the best piece of advice I could have received.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it was an even playing field for everybody.
Yep, everybody. The whole world was on the same playing field.
Now, I know you mentioned Chip ZNuff did this album, but I got to know, man, working with him, did he push you guys to get exactly what you wanted out of a producer? Do you think working with somebody else, you might not have gotten exactly what he got out of you guys?
I know we wouldn't have got as good of a record with somebody else. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there, but we toured with Chip a whole lot. He'd seen our show a million times. We're friends. He really knew what we needed as a band and what the album needed for the tracks. So we would come in and we'd play the demos, and he's like, okay, Jimmy, play no fills at all. Keep it simple. Nothing. I want you to play it straight through the exact same the entire way. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? And then we listen back and I go, that was brilliant. How did he know? How did he know? And same with the vocals. Like I would sit there, and that was a nerve-wracking thing, doing vocals around Chip. The first day, here's the good story on Highway 69. The first day, I drive all the way from Omaha to Chicago, 6 hours, 7 hours by myself. I get in there, we cut the first track. I'm trying the same thing. I didn't want to be Chris Farley and Paul McCartney. I was like, okay, I want to be cool. I want to say cool stuff. I don't want to act like ass. And then we cut Highway 69. There's a knock on the door, and in walks Donnie V. And I was like, what is this? And he's like, oh yeah, just in the neighborhood, thought I'd stop by, play the tracks for me, I want to hear them. And I'm sweating, I'm freaking out. He's like, pretty good song, bro. I was like, okay, I think we're on to something now.
Oh man.
So Donnie V was there, Chip's there, and I'm cutting vocals for the first time for the first week.
I mean, that's a surreal moment, man. I mean, you got two icons sitting there, and it's like, don't fuck up. Don't fuck up.
Don't fuck up. Don't say anything that's going to make you look like a dick. Yeah.
What's the growth musically you've seen from yourselves working on this new album compared to 2018's debut album, Something Bigger, if anything, possibly?
The growth on it? Oh, we've been shipping since it's been released. I've shipped a ton. Like, I'm just sitting here, like I told you earlier, just shipping CDs. And I noticed that it really goes back to the way bands used to do it. There's no easy way. There's no formula, for success. Well, there is a formula, but there's no cheating You have to go out and tour your ass off. You have to go out and pound the pavement, play shows to nobody, play shows to 10, 15 people. That's how the band grows. And that's how you sell CDs. That's really it. So you can't just make it by putting out a record and thinking that you're playing in your hometown. It's really about going out and traveling and meeting people and touching. We call it the hearts and souls. We're touching hearts and souls on the road. And that's a Chip thing that we learned from him early on, is you go out there and you put on the best show you can, because it translates into these people kind of being your friends and your family, which translates into album sales and people believing in your band. With this record, we had toured so much that we really set ourselves up for a good release and a good push with this label. Pavement Music helped a ton as well.
Yeah, and those days of actually playing the old CBGBs, and you guys got to play the Whiskey A Go-Go, which I think is fucking awesome.
3 times. We're going back and
wow.
So there'll be the 4th time in a calendar year.
That's awesome. But those days of back in the 80s, the Motley Crues, the Guns and Poison, all those bands, Faster Pussycat, of a producer coming in and saying, I want to sign those guys. That's not even relevant right now. That ain't at all.
No.
So now it's like, how many shares you got, how many views you got, how many subscribers you got, which I think is total BS. That shouldn't matter whatsoever. But it does, sadly.
And this the sad part is that everybody goes, oh, are you guys on Spotify? And I'll tell everybody, like, don't go to Spotify. They don't pay the artist anything, but it is the most accessible medium to, like, the guy on the street. If he has his phone out, you go, yeah, we're on Spotify. But our record label, 2 days ago, I woke up and the label sent us a message like, you guys got 4,000 streams on Highway 69 on Spotify. I thought, well, that's a pretty big deal. Like, if the record label's happy with that, I guess I'm pretty happy with that too. Sure. That made my day, and it gave us like a starting point, I guess, or a place that we can kind of calculate if we're on the right track.
When I do my YouTube channel, I get tickled if I have 100 views on one of my videos,
Absolutely.
It's a grind. It's hard, but there's so much you can do by social media, and the word of mouth, I've said, is the golden ticket for everything.
Yep.
If you don't have friends that's going to support you, then guess what? They're not your friends.
Yep. And that word of mouth goes directly is impacted by touring.
Yep.
And by being on the road and being in strange cities. That's why the success comes from that hard work, I think, 100%.
Who did the artwork for this awesome album, man? Because that's a cool little piece of artwork.
The front cover?
Yes.
It was a guy named Rico Childs here in Omaha that he works for a company called 1119 Productions Creations, and they're also big fans of the band. Donovan Barry, he's the guy that runs the company. Anything that I put out, he'll buy a copy. So I like shipping CDs to the guy that created the album cover almost. That I think is such a cool thing. We had the title track, or not the title, the leadoff track is called Sound of Domination. We thought that was going to be the name of the album. So I gave him that as like an idea, a place to start. He came up with the album cover, and then we ended up changing the title to Never Beg For It, which is another Chip ZNuff. He helped us on that title too. Inadvertently, he was the one responsible for the title.
But this album has color. That's what I like about this cover.
Yeah.
This album, it's got color that pops and grabs your attention.
Yep, and that's what we're all about. That there's no other bands, I feel there's very few, if any, that have the balls to kind of go out on stage wearing lipstick, wearing makeup, wearing a girl's prom dress. There's no other bands that are doing it, and I think that we have such a cool little niche and such a cool little rock and roll spot that people go, well, I recognize this from the 80s, but this is brand new, and I love it, and it's exciting and dangerous and unpredictable. The creativity is just off the charts, and it's so free flowing.
So you guys were in that metal 80s glam rock band, but what made you guys decide to stay true to that sound with the Midnight Devils? You could easily did something else, but why stay true to this? I mean, what said, okay, no, was it just because this was your roots? This is where you knew what it was?
It's such a good question. Nobody's ever asked that question, by the way, John. Incredible question. We had decided that, okay, let's do this 2-man acoustic group, but we were going out playing small town bars in Iowa and Nebraska in full makeup, full hair, and you could see the reaction it was getting from people, good or bad. Like, we'd gotten chased out of towns before, people hated us, but we'd also got really good reaction. So I knew any reaction that we were getting was a positive thing. So I go, let's keep going with this. If we can just keep going and keep pushing it, I think we're on to something. And really, Jimmy Mess was an integral part to this because he's such a hyper glam dude. Like, he doesn't care. He's just the street rock and roll dude that loves glam, loves punk. So let's just keep riding that wave, because I think we can do something that's unique and that hasn't been done before, or something that is exciting for people. And it just seemed like that excitement just kept going, and the makeup helped. The makeup really keeps asses in the seats. If people are excited, people want to know, is this going to be good? Is this going to be bad? A bunch of rodeo clowns just walked out of the dressing room. So they'll stay. They'll stay and watch. And as a Kiss fan, people listen with their eyes.
Yeah.
It's a fact. So we grew up on Kiss. We grew up on Motley Crue, on the New York Dolls. So that's where we came from. And we just wanted to make that style of music.
And I'm not knocking anybody who's doing what you guys are doing, because it takes guts to do that, to stay true to what you want to do and believe in yourself to do that. But when you see folks that have those reactions, they're just scared. They don't know how to react to that.
Yep.
So, but eventually, man, they'll come around and be like, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So,
and we've done shows with heavy metal bands, with rap artists. And I love the fact that the Midnight Devils we can work our way in between all of that and appeal to audiences that are fans of all these different bands. Like, we did shows with bands that were very ICP related. They were Juggalo related.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know how this is going to work. And it worked brilliantly. Like, the fans got it. So it's just about that excitement. And the fact that we're excited makes the people in the audience, the fans, and anybody excited at the shows.
What do you hope everyone takes away while listening to these new songs, or just any of the Midnight Devils music in general, Sam? What do you hope they get from it, man, once they pop it in and start listening to it?
I want them to go, I know exactly what he's talking about. I know I can relate to these lyrics. And all of these experiences are experiences that could happen to anybody. They happen to me. They happen to you. Love, sex, anything like that. The real world is still out there, and it's not a time to be down, depressed, or negative. What I want is people to take a positive and realize that we can keep going, we can keep creating, we can keep being free as an artist or as people. That's what I want. I want them to go, hey, those guys get it just as much as we do. And I love when people say, oh, one of the hardest working bands out there. I'll be like, you're damn right, we're one of the hardest working bands, because we love this. We love being on the road. As much as it sucks, I love every minute of it.
That's a true band right there. That's the actual definition of a band, is touring and traveling. That's that's their job. That's it.
I still tell people it's the Wild West out there. You can get out of it whatever you want to get out of it. You can be as crazy as you want, but it's still just this weird, uncharted territory that is completely unique to rock and roll or musicians traveling in general.
I know you had a lot of music when you were younger growing up, and still to this day, man, but do you still have a go-to album or maybe a song that you find yourself going back to and listening to from time to time that you just cannot kick out? You've got to go listen to it.
Yeah, absolutely. With the ones that remind me of when I was young are this is a weird one for you. Like the Psycho Circus album was my first Kiss album that I bought, right? And it was such a weird album to be your initiate into the Kiss world. But I still go back to those songs and just think, like, I remember the feeling I had watching the videos. I'm like, I'm terrified. I'm so scared. Like, how does this band creating such an aura around them? And I love that mystique, because at the Psycho Circus, they put the makeup back on. So I didn't really realize there was a whole 80s genre of them without makeup on. To me, they were just this larger than life satanic characters playing great music. So I will always stick up for that album, the Psycho Circus album. I still go back and listen to AC/DC. We just had this discussion, like, what is the best AC/DC album, Highway to Hell or Back in Black? It's such a difficult thing to talk about, two different singers. But these are the things that we sit at the bar at 4 a.m, talk about while nobody's in there. And I love stuff like that.
And there's so many characteristics that's the same on both albums
Yeah.
To me, the only thing different that changed, and you hit the nail on the head right there, is just the vocals. If you close your eyes and listen to Brian Johnson sing, at times you think it's Bon Scott up there.
Mm-hmm.
Just like with William Duvall with Alice in Chains.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you choose?
It's almost impossible. You think like Highway to Hell is the quintessential AC/DC record.
Mm.
That what is their top record? That's it. But then you go look at Back in Black and you look at this track list and you're like, oh my gosh, you know every song off that record. Shook Me All Night Long, Back in Black, Shoot to Thrill. Which one? You know, it's so cool to think about, and I rarely ever think about it.
Folks, you want to get out and pick up the Midnight Devils' new album, Never Beg for It, and check out their singles and everything they got coming down the pipe. So, Sam, how could folks stay in touch with you guys? Buy this new album, merchandise, tour dates when it goes back on again. How can you do that, man?
Go to themidnightdevils.com. We're very social media friendly band. So we have Instagram, Twitter. We post on it all the time. We reply to as many comments as we possibly can. But that's like the best way is to jump on there and let us know that you're out there. Let us know you enjoy this music. We'll respond and probably end up becoming friends. That's the coolest thing is that you get to meet so many people. But themidnightdevils.com has everything that you need to know. The next show is at Rockfest in Wisconsin coming up. We got a bunch of festival shows, and then we go back on tour with Pretty Boy Floyd and Enuff Z'Nuff in the fall. But anything that is purchased from our website goes directly into funding the tour. So it's like I'm shipping out CDs from my house to you. You're basically putting the money in my pocket that I give to the gas station to fill up the van. It's really that easy, and it's really that cool. So we're still just this band of dudes that are friends that are shipping CDs out of our house. It's such a cool thing and such an exciting thing. There's no corporations. It's still very, very rock and roll.
Before I let you go, good sir, would you care to do a promo for my show?
I would love to. Hey, this is Sam Spade from the Midnight Devils. You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour with the bod father himself. It's time to get weird, baby. And remember, never beg for it.
Yeah, never beg for it at all. Never. But I mean, I probably would, you know. But anyway, folks, please check out our Facebook page. It has our podcast link and that YouTube link. And please drop me a subscribe and just hit that notification bell because we've got a lot of stuff coming up. And I'll tell you this right now, I have real good questions, real good interviews, and you get real answers here. There's no fillers, there's no BS. This is straight good conversations with these.
The best interview I've had so far.
Oh, thank you, man. I tremendously
good questions.
I tremendously appreciate that. And folks, please get out and check out the Midnight Devils. You won't be disappointed. And I just want to say this: I'm affiliated with Metal Inc. Form Obscure, which is an online magazine that you can look up obscure art, band reviews on their albums and stuff like that. So I may throw you guys in there later on, get you on there too. And Diary of the Madman, the Ultimate Ozzy Osbourne podcast with Dan and Josh. They are awesome. They know everything about Ozzy, and it's a little bit scary because I think they know more about Ozzy than Ozzy does himself, honestly. And before I go and let Sam off, I just want to say this too. Please support our emergency first responders because June 30th here in my little hometown of Eastern Kentucky, 3 officers were shot. A total of 7 people were shot, including EMS responders, a service dog, and 3 officers lost their life for no reason. No reason at all. And my little hometown will never be the same. It's affected everybody here. So please think before you act. And if you need help, please don't be scared to ask because that does not make you less of a person if you need help. I don't care who you are. You will still be loved no matter what. So
Absolutely.
Thank you, man. Thank you for being on this podcast, man. I tremendously appreciate it, dude.
I appreciate it too.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.